what I found was product as a role in the past, it was sort of in this spinning wheels feature factory mode due to specific decisions made in the past of delivery mandates of deliverables. And what I realized is, okay, in order to escape from that, we have to do many things. I should really just start off with tying the outcomes to the team level KPIs and figuring out what kind of culture do we want from a decision-making point of view. Because it seems like people just expect, okay, decisions are made up top. I just say, okay, how high do I jump if you say jump? Whereas for me, in a mid-stage company, you have a responsibility. If a particular decision is made along the way by someone senior, then sort of treat it as, okay, that's a hypothesis. How can I validate this? And how do I remove the riskiest assumption?
Welcome to the Product People podcast, where we discuss trends and actionable advice with great product leaders. I'm here with Andrew Bond, Senior Director of Product at Moonfare, fintech company based out of Europe. Andrew has been in product leadership roles and strategy roles since 2016, counting PayPal, Google, and Tier Dot Mobility as some of the companies he's impacted throughout the years. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, would you like to give us a little brief about your journey into product management? What drew you to this initially?
Cool. Yeah. So my story, let's go all the way back. So as a kid, I was really fascinated with technology. I was growing up sort of in the early 90s with really basic computers. I was once introduced to this coding prompt tool, QBasic. And from there, I was like doing really basic things, coding little snippets and scripts, and then playing computer games as I went along the way. I didn't know how big that was going to be in part of my career. I just knew I liked technology, so I sort of stayed with that. Turns out my first, let's say, technical role was like a work experience student putting PCs together and selling computer games to people. So I knew I had to be in technology somehow. In product, sort of got there accidentally via consulting. So I started off in Deloitte as a strategy management consultant, largely on the tech side, and spent maybe 3 to 6 years roughly of just fine crafting all these tools of understanding what the problem is, trying to structure problems to be solved, and then making a recommendation, which is really, really fun. I learned a lot from industry to industry, but I just didn't feel like I was learning how to manage something that was living and breathing, and I was missing something. So I took an MBA, I experimented with some startups, but in the end, I found this role, my first product role in LittlePay, which was at the time, I think I was employee number 6. And I was able to get into a product role with an understanding of how fintech worked through my time at PayPal, through my time giving consulting advice to Visa, MasterCard, Amex, these kind of guys during my consulting careers, and then put it all together into my first role at LittlePay. That was my let's say, individual contributor at the start, evolving to a head of product role after maybe about 5 years of time with LittlePay. Learned a lot. Really rapid, starting with 0, moving it to 1, shipping a product, an MVP, and something live that customers were using. I was really glad that I was able to get that role, and really fortunate to get my teeth into something that was living and something that shipped value to customers and provided delight. Yeah.
I just want to double down that you did vibe coding before it was cool.
Sort of like,
Thinking of
I wouldn't say vibe coding, I would say like putting scripts together just to figure out what on earth this tool did. But this it's very, very long time ago.
cool, but it does show curiosity and trying to figure out technology, which is something we also appreciate quite a lot when hiring product folks. And
Yeah.
curiosity is very hard to test for.
Definitely, yeah. Trying to find someone who is willing to try to learn regardless of their background. I think that's just like one of the core tenets of a product manager. Yeah.
100%. All right, so you were a consultant, hands-on PM, and then went into product leadership roles, head of to VP of product, now senior director. How did all this shape your current approach?
Yes. Well, you probably guessed a little bit, I guess. When I started consulting, I was given a lot of tools, a toolkit of structured problem solving. They give you frameworks, that you're applying to problems. When you have a problem, put it through this framework and it'll spit out some kind of result that you can convince the, let's say, executives or the sponsors of the project that you need to take a particular path or direction. And for the most part, I really do like the use of frameworks, but not like blatantly just applying it for every single project I go on to. And so at the start, I was sort of given a lot of structured problem solving tools, which is great. Being able to frame things, put things into mental models is a very useful skill. However, what I didn't learn at the time was to work in teams that you're going to be working with day to day, that you're going to be sitting alongside your engineering manager or maybe your developers, trying to get to know them as people. So when I started off in this consulting world of structured problem solving, just telling people what to do based on data, insights, analysis, etc., it evolved to, okay, I've got a toolkit, but I need to understand people. I need to understand the motivations of the developers. What gets them up in the morning? What makes them happy? What makes them sad? What do they like? What do they not like? And how we can match that to the products that we are working on with them. So I went sort of really, really high on technical skills at the start, and then realized over time, when I become a PM or head of product role within a startup, it really does matter the relationships that you build around you and how to execute with the people around you, because you're no longer just telling people what to do as a recommender because you have all the data and the insights. You're now implementing them without the authority. And this part here requires a lot of trust, a lot of building relationships, and making sure that people continually understand a narrative of why. And that's something that sort of I learned over time and shaped. I would say that I'm still learning the people side. Now in a leadership perspective, it's more about how do I deliver a value through the right systems thinking, the right setup of teams, and the right culture. But I spend a lot of my time now as a product leader looking more at leadership practices and general management practices on how to run organizations at scale. And yeah, more about the people than the technology itself.
Right. That's always an evergreen conversation I have with people if they want mentoring and coaching. I even had a call today with someone where the feedback was, "Oh, I expected you give me some more product discovery frameworks or templates, and you come with those to the call." And I was like, "Yes, I came to the call to understand like what the problem is and how your organization's set up, and like what's the business like, what's the product and tech team set up." These things you can get off Reforge, and if you Google, they're going to get even more. I don't feel that's valuable, and I also always feel that some of them end up being a bit more complicated than they should be, and that hinders adoption. So I fully agree with you that at the more senior you get, the more you value figuring out the people problem first than anything else, because a lot of it is also idiosyncrasies of people and historical things that ended up having an organization run a certain way, for better or for worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Insight.
For sure. Yeah. The last thing I would say is that maybe like at the start of my roles, I thought product manager, it's about what I build and how I ship it. But over time, you realize that it's a cross-functional mandate across a business, right? You cannot do it successfully without touching across all of the departments and teams that makes a business successful. So you have to sit back and think, what does a business do? How does a business model work? What is their distribution channels? What do they go-to-market strategy? All of these more commercial topics, customer success. What do customers think of the proposition? How do we get insights and feedback? All this kind of stuff around the user and how the user interacts with the company, not with the product, is something I learned over time. You have to take a lot of time to step back and look at the bigger picture. Yeah.
Yeah, fully agree. Product is a commercial function and it should act from that angle. But of course, keeping in mind the long-term strategy and other things, but it still has to make the company commercially successful to whatever angle that the company is chasing at that point. Is it more growth, more margin? All right. So now going to what you're currently doing right now when we're recording this podcast. Join Moonfare, a mid-stage European fintech scale-up. So how are you leveraging AI there? As my assumption is, as a new product leader in the org, that's one of the things that you get asked. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, it's people ask all the time. So just to take a bit of a pause on it, what is Moonfare? So Moonfare provides private market investment opportunities to typically high net worth individuals. So we are targeting mostly in the space of very to upper high net worth individuals with at least 3 to 25 millions of assets under management. So you can think of these individuals are very sophisticated buyers that they require unique access to private market investments that are not available anywhere else to them. As a company, Moonfare, I think it's a roughly Series C, about 200 people. And you can think of a 200-person scale up as it's achieved many wins to achieve product market fit, and it's scaled up. It's got a decent size in both sales, marketing, growth, product, R&D, security. All the departments have a fair bit of capability, but they still lack a little bit in the scaled maturity, continuous improving in every single area type of capability. So I would say that there's quite a bit more to learn there. And where AI fits in sort of three areas, I would say. The first tenant would be just enabling the business to do more in productivity and efficiency. So we're using GPT for, say, drafting content, reviewing style guides, applying particular communications to language to our content, things like this, just speeding up the delivery of content as well as product scope and discovery. A lot of this is being done now. Validating hypotheses, putting business cases together. A lot of the stuff you would probably have in the past leaned on a product operating model where you've got a product analyst or a product ops manager who's relatively lower level, where they're doing a lot of the analysis and collation of the insights for you. You can do a lot with AI. So that's on the product side. On the development side, we're using it for developer productivity, PR reviews, automation and testing, these kind of things. So that's the first tenet around productivity of how we can make our work do more. Then we've got two sides of the coin. The first one is revenue uplift. Revenue uplift in the sense that we need to find ways to uniquely grow the business, and where we have concepts currently and proof of concepts being implemented is around how we can look at personalization, ways to make the investor feel empowered with unique insights relative to not only their own portfolio, but to a benchmark of their peers within their cohort. So looking at areas where we can monetize better and improve our way of raising investments through the investor. And we're also looking at sort of scaling and decreasing of operating costs. There's a lot of intelligent document processing that we're doing. So scanning documents, taking information out, and then applying particular business logic, putting it through certain stage gates, and then assessing a risk, and then spitting out some kind of score for some human in the loop calculation. That work is definitely really helpful on the operational side of the business. And for private markets, private banking, it's very, very manual reporting, data review, KYC processes, all of this stuff sits on the OpEx side of it. And there are many use cases where we use AI to create proof of concepts, and then we can reduce the amount of manual work and then deploy from there. I think at the moment we're running forth with maybe about 4 AI proof of concepts at the moment. I can't talk too much about them, but they're all being implemented across the company in different areas. And yeah, we've got a AI group representative of at least 1 or 2 people per department. We have recurring meetings, and it's now pretty much embedded within Moonfare to use it in their daily practices.
That's really cool. So, as a follow up for this, considering also your audience is comprised of super busy people, as I would assume someone with a net worth of over 3 million is harder to reach for user interviews or other things like that, right? You cannot give them a 50 euro Amazon voucher for spending half an hour with you in a user interview. So then how do you approach gathering insights for this type of customer persona?
Two sides, and we started this actually relatively recently, as we started to use on the first side synthetic user interviews, which is it's based on data and feedback that we have collated using our various tools, from CRM tools through to feedback generation tools, etc., of what represents an investor and an investor's segment and a cohort. And then we've trained some models to provide, let's say, some personas that critiques our product discovery and design to allow us to structure interview questions better, right? So that's on like one side. We actually do a lot of work on the synthetic user side within product discovery and definition phase, validating the problem and just making sure that we're understanding what to build and why. Then you're right, it is a little bit trickier to recruit time-poor, high net worth individuals. However, we do have very, let's say, active investor base who are willing to try to improve the proposition because they just invested into the brand of Moonfare. And we have a panel of people who do provide us feedback. And what we do in return is we don't give them incentives. What we do is we donate to a charity of a cause that they would like to pursue. And we say, okay, we're going to donate to that charity if you provide us some time to provide some insights. And then we use the structured interview guides that we generated through the synthetic user feedback loop, and then interview the users, and we'd update the models, and then that's a sort of recurring loop. It's actually a really nice way to make the most time of the investor base with minimal resources. Anyone in the product team can do this, and we have set up an assistant where you can chat with it to critique your interview questions to interview better.
Amazing. It's also such a good example of how you're applying this current tools. What other tactics do you use grow and scale at Moonfare, or you would in general for a mid-stage B2B fintech company running out of Europe?
Hmm. Yeah. I would say, like any role, when you have to start your role and you're starting an environment where you need to understand the business domain very, very quickly, I think you should start very quickly to zoom out and think of the big picture, industry landscape, interview with the people within your peer group as well as leadership to understand the company vision before you even go down the path of what does the product do, what should the product do, and what is the problem you're trying to solve with the product. Try to start with the business first and understand business context, really. And that's regardless of the stage of company, either mid-stage or late stage. It's always very important to zoom out, take a look at the value chain, where do you compete, where you don't compete, and really try to understand where the business has come from and what is the history. Like there have been previous leaders in the past, previous exco members, etc. You just need to understand like how they're built up over time, because those series of decisions in a mid-stage company, those series of decisions then add up to either product opportunities or product debt. So it's really spending a lot of time on that. And then once you're able to understand what those themes are of hypotheses that you want to validate and test with more stakeholders, if you will, start to zoom in and really look at the areas where you can generate value. My approach with Moonfare was to do exactly this. What I found was product as a role in the past, it was sort of in this spinning wheels feature factory mode due to specific decisions made in the past of delivery mandates of deliverables. And what I realized is, okay, in order to escape from that, we have to do many things. I should really just start off with tying the outcomes to the team level KPIs and figuring out what kind of culture do we want from a decision-making point of view. Because it seems like people just expect, okay, decisions are made up top. I just say, okay, how high do I jump if you say jump? Whereas for me, in a mid-stage company, you have a responsibility. If a particular decision is made along the way by someone senior, then sort of treat it as, okay, that's a hypothesis. How can I validate this? And how do I remove the riskiest assumption, and how to generate value quickly within that? And for a mid-stage company, it's always going to be about like, okay, what is the path look like to profitability? And so you have to construct a plan, a vision and a strategy, really, to get the right capabilities and the competencies. Usually it's not about the choices at this stage. At this stage, they've made the right choices, but they may not have got the right competencies in place in order for them to actually execute on the choices that they've made, whether it be hiring or outsourcing or like maybe even just dumping certain product lines that make no sense. That's where when you zoomed in and had a look at the P&L of all these particular product lines, etc., you're able to make some swift adjustments and really spend the resources on the areas that make the most growth. Specifically for Moonfare, we are looking at, let's say, appending a very strong sales-led motion to a product-led sales motion, and then finding areas where, okay, are there areas we can use product to create more product-led growth motions? And at the moment, it's almost non-existent. It's largely reliant on a strong outbound, inbound partnerships sales team. But in future, as we move through the roadmap, there are many, many opportunities to implement growth loops and product-led capabilities. And that's always very, very interesting when you're in that sort of mid-stage trying to scale up and trying to find your next wave of growth. You cannot just rely on a very linear growth of just sales. You need to find ways to grow using lower cost distribution, technology, product. And yeah, this is what I've learned so far in Moonfare. Zoom out and then zoom in, really, to find out where you can concentrate your time on.
So am I correctly assuming that you are hiring, or do you have already the PM capability internally who can execute on PLG motions?
Yeah, we are hiring actually. So there's two positions open. One of them is related to leading our efforts on AI, just as the AI lead across the board of different domains. And then the second one is a more activation-like role. So that activation role does have product-led type work in it. So both of those are available now on the website, and we are interviewing heavily let's say, in an area where we want to find more commercial skills, where people can understand how to append product to existing strong outbound, inbound motions.
Amazing. And for the PMs listening to the podcast, what are you looking for when hiring for these roles?
Yeah, well, what I look for now is really around three areas, and it's irrespective of the domain. They really need to have like three things. I think we mentioned the first one, which is curiosity. They need
Yes, we
to
did.
be able to want to understand the problem, want to listen, and really patiently understand the problem and domain context as much as possible before they act. So there's a strong sense of curiosity. They need to have a strong sense of agency to hop in when there's a problem that needs help straight away, or if there's an area, let's say, that's not particularly within the domain, but they see that it might be helpful because of their previous expertise to hop in and take initiative, but not when told. So a high level of agency is needed. And the third one is empathy. The common theme for most product managers, the willingness and the ability to listen and really actively listen to people's problems and absorb a lot of the heat that is often, let's say, directed from various stakeholders around the business, demands, requests, if you will. A product role is always going to be in the middle of that, and they will always have to come with, let's say, a structured, data-based or evidence-guided type of decision-making, prioritization-making method. And you can only
And
really do
thick skin.
uh, thick skin, yeah. I think a thick skin is sort of like related to empathy, but maybe that's a fourth one. But definitely, yeah, you need to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely chuck it under the emotional intelligence umbrella, right? Because you need that to tune into people, but you also need that for yourself to calibrate and not get carried away. I really love the agency part. I've heard it from Claire Vaux as get shit done, GTS attitude. Also love that. It just describes what you'd expect from people. Really, really good three principles. So curiosity, personal agency, and empathy.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, Andrew, you shared already a bit of about your leadership principles. I know from when we talked previously that you have a few hacks for people to get to know you and how to work with you, like the About Me document. Do you have other things you like doing or other philosophies that you live by in your leadership roles?
Yeah, that is a short hack, yes. So as soon as I joined Moonfare, I thought, okay, I think it's best to write down just who am I? Where do I come from? What do I value in life? And what's the best way of working with me? Maybe even like the behavioral cognitive tests I've done before, just to understand how to interact with me. And I think that's like a really good shortcut. It doesn't take so much time to do. I would recommend anyone that starts a new role, either in product management or in leadership, really just start off with that page and share it with those immediate peers around you. And every time you gain more responsibility or gain some more scope or something, just send that page to someone so that they can understand how you think and how you work. It also sets the right tone that you value written communication. And this is something that I love to see in pretty much all of my product organizations is a strong set of written communications because it allows people to think concisely and also communicate concisely in a very short period of time to try to get the right attention for what matters most. So writing definitely is a way to do it. Other shortcuts really is just changing where you sit. So if you have a specific type of let's say stakeholder group that is you would like to get to know or you'd like to understand more about the problem statement, etc., just literally sit next to them, sit next to the salespeople, listen to a customer, a feedback call, or a sales pitch. You're an account management team, try to figure out what are the types of activities that they do and watch them without being too creepy about it, but watch them from the side to see what their day is like and really just get to know the people as people. They are colleagues, yes, they are people you work with, but you spend so much time with them during the week. It's best to get to know the person as they are.
So I think that's a plus for the in-office comms, but I also assume that remotely it could be organized in some way, like joining their shared channels or listening in on a few calls or joining co-working sessions. That could also be remote.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Awesome. Happy to catch up and thanks for hosting also our event.
No, thank you, thank you.
That
We'll see you soon.